there is a big story that's been going around for the last week, which is about the Coventry bin strike, and I have been pursuing a Coventry bin man more than any Coventry resident, I'm sure, for the past week. But just before we talk about that, I'd just like to show this clip of Keir Starmer in an interview about the bin strike. Here it is.
In relation to the strike, it's obviously industrial action, and what I want to see is what pretty well everybody wants to see, which is an end to the dispute. That's only going to happen if both sides are talking. They are talking at the moment, and I hope that resolves the issue, because that's the best thing in relation to this industrial dispute and most industrial disputes. On the funding, I don't think an industrial dispute in Coventry should influence relations between the Labour Party and its trade unions, its affiliated trade unions. So it's very important I make that clear as well.
So if you did you hear the tone where he said Coventry, as though it was sort of contemptible? I was interested, and as I say, I've been pursuing Coventry binmen. I've been pursuing people in Coventry all week as well. And one person that I'd managed to speak to earlier this morning was Dave Nellist, who was an MP in Coventry for 10 years and a councillor for more than that as well. And I asked him, what did he think about the way Keir Starmer spoke about Coventry in that interview?
I think the video clearly shows the disdain that Sir Keir Starmer has for a city like Coventry, which I would just remind people, when I got here 50 years ago, was the richest working class city in Britain. It had twice the union density of the national average. It had leaders born here or organising workers here like Tom Mann and Jack Jones, a strong union city. And for Labour to have that attitude to the city brought hundreds, literally hundreds within an hour or two of people onto social media from Coventry who were really angry about that. But it also shows the disdain that Keir Starmer has for the trade union movement in the way that he's saying that a dispute in a city like Coventry can't have an effect on the national process between Labour and the unions. Well, clearly it can. I mean, we already know that between 150 and 200,000 individual members of the Labour Party have resigned since Jeremy was replaced as leader 22 months ago. But it's now starting to happen in the trade union movement. The Bakers Union disaffiliated last September. ASLEB, the train drivers union, have got motions up at its conference shortly for disaffiliation. The Transport Salary Staff Association in the railway industry is also consulting its members. And we've often and long argued in the Socialist Party that Jeremy ought to call a conference of those left-led unions and start to debate what the movement should build anew in order to replace the right-moving Labour Party.
And what would your reaction be to not just Keir Starmer's interview, but also the way the Labour Council in Coventry has handled this dispute?
Well, it has been absolutely disgraceful. Strike breaking by a Labour Council is absolutely disgraceful. Again, this is a dispute about the cost of living crisis. Families in general, and these drivers, 77 of them and their families, are facing £1,000 to £2,000 cut in their living standards this year. Gas, electric, fuel, council tax, and national insurance, and so on. These drivers start on £11 an hour with an HGV2 qualification, though many have actually got HGV1 qualifications. They have to work 11 years to get to £14 an hour. The council are employing drivers to break the strike on between £18 and £26 an hour. They've set up drop-off points around the city where residents can bring their black bags and drop them, and then wagons come in and take them away. They're paying the security workers to guard those sites, £14 an hour in the day and £28 an hour in the evening. They've spent, in the 7 weeks this strike has been going on, over £3 million trying to break the strike, 10 times what it would cost to actually settle the strike and give the drivers the wage increase their families deserve. And I think, I mean, the drivers are absolutely solid. The support from the trade union movement in Coventry is increasing. I know of one union branch that gave a £5,000 donation last week to the drivers' hardship fund. And I think united action by the drivers can win off this dispute. But, and this is the point I'll finish on, the relationship between Labour and the trade unions are not only damaged, but I think they're at a lower level than they've been seen in decades. One example, at the beginning of last week, or early last week, the Regional Secretary of Unite, Anne-Marie Kilcline, invited the Unite members who are Labour councillors in Coventry to a meeting. We have 39 Labour councillors in Coventry. 26 of them are members of Unite. By Friday afternoon, Anne-Marie felt so annoyed and angry that she took to Twitter to make an announcement that not one of the 26 Unite members who are Labour councillors had replied to her invitation to meet to discuss with the regional union. Where can you imagine the disdain locally and nationally of Labour now for the trade union movement? I think it's got consequences that have yet to play out.